New upgrades for the country's courts. The doctors are alarmed as the country's healthcare facility reaches capacity, and we're on the heels of the country's 48th independence. Good evening, everyone. I'm Lissy Bastian with your Jcn News for this Friday, July 9th. Thanks for staying with us. The Ministry of National Security and the Bahamas Judiciary signing 2 contracts yesterday, totaling $596,916 with local contractors Walker Industries and Network Cabling to provide necessary LAN and WAN and electrical upgrades of 4 courts. Chief Justice Sir Brian Morey says the electrical upgrades will take about 8 weeks to complete.
Contracts will provide electrical upgrades and enhanced local area network and wide area network capabilities, and is funded out of the proceeds of the $20 million IDB loan which the government of the Bahamas entered into on the 4th of February 2016 for the execution of the Citizen Security and Justice Program as one of its components. This program is providing funding for critical reforms and improvements in the court system and in other areas within the administration of justice.
The upgrades will prepare the court spaces for implementation of an integrated case management system, ICMS, for which a $2 million contract was signed in December of last year.
These contracts are really super important because what they're really doing is preparing our buildings for the next stage in order to run our case management system, which is the backbone to many of the other reforms that we are bringing in. Things like our digital recording system, all of the various ICT applications that we have, they will all require an updated ICT platform, and the LAN and WAN environment is extremely important to us.
Meanwhile, these upgrades will facilitate the expansion of 2 divisions within the judiciary, the Digitization Unit and the Bahamas Judicial Education Institute. Additionally, the work being completed will continue to help the judiciary's ongoing court modernization and reform initiative, which seeks to bring Sir Brian's vision for a high-functioning court system. With Haiti's interim prime minister declaring a state of emergency nationwide and with concerns that Haitian nationals will flee Haiti because of fears of rising conflict following the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse, National Security Minister Marvin Dames giving a firm declaration to reporters that the country's law enforcement agencies will do what they have to do to protect the Bahamas' borders. That declaration came as reporters questioned whether there will be heightening of security at the country's borders following the assassination of President Moïse, whose wife was also shot in the attack on their home in Haiti's capital and remains in hospital seriously injured.
Haiti, of course, is a neighbor, and so, we have a responsibility to monitor what's taking place. You would have heard from our Prime Minister as well as the Minister of Foreign Affairs. We're very much abreast of what's going on, and we're monitoring whether that would have any impact on us here in the Bahamas.
Minister Dames notes that he has had briefings with both Commissioner of Police Paul Rowe and Commodore of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force Dr. Raymond King on the situation. Meanwhile, he reassures that all branches of the armed forces have the adequate resources in the event of an influx of Haitian citizens leaving the country amid fears of chaos. He also highlighted the RBDF capabilities as they are the ones that provide maritime security here in the country.
And over the last 4+ years since coming into office, we would have invested a significant amount of funds to ensure that these agencies are up to the task and they are properly equipped as far as our strategy in terms of working with the RBDF to decentralize their operation in the southern and central Bahamas and elsewhere, and to provide them with the best of breed and technology to improve their situational as well as their domain awareness.
When asked what plans his ministry has for the tightening of security at the government's buildings, mainly where government officials have offices, he says this.
We have had these discussions before, and we have created manuals and documents that speaks to just that. If you look at the new Ministry of National Security building, for example, you would see that that's one of those models that we intend to ensure that we take it at every ministry. And we have had these discussions at the cabinet level as we prioritize our business.
Neighboring Dominican Republic ordered the immediate closure of its borders with Haiti. Minister Dames notes that we have to be minded of what's taking place here in the Bahamas and around the world. Doctors now more alarmed at the fact that Princess Margaret Hospital is already at capacity for COVID-19 patients amid the nation's recent vaccine shortage leading to a strain on healthcare infrastructure. This grim statistic comes about after PMH officials announced this past Wednesday that they had been at capacity with COVID-19 patients for the past 5 to 7 days, with most of these patients reportedly being unvaccinated, with only an estimated 2% of COVID patients at PMH having been immunized with at least one dose of the vaccine, indicating that an overwhelming majority of those hospitalized have yet to be vaccinated at all. When combined with the fact that the nation is currently facing a vaccine shortage, doctors are beginning to become concerned for public safety. Consultant Physicians Staff Association CPSA President Dr. Sabrika Pinda Butler says that while physicians are trying their best to manage all the patients that they care for, she admits that rising COVID cases has caused issues with clinic and hospital staff. Dr. Pinda Butler notes that hospital staff had to be relocated and reallocated at all levels to assist with COVID-19 patients, as well as patients with other chronic conditions.
At this point in time, I would say that, physicians have continued to try to do their best to manage all patients that we care for. Certainly, it's concerning for us, because we know that we're at capacity, and we also know that we are having staffing challenges as well. We're already working in not ideal circumstances, but we are here to care for patients and the Bahamian public, so we continue to try our best despite the circumstances.
While the rollout of the vaccine has mitigated the spread of COVID-19, the nation is currently facing a vaccinating shortage that puts a possible further strain on public safety. Dr. Pinda Butler is hopeful that as the government reaches out for more vaccines from throughout the region and with a wider education campaign on the benefits of the vaccine, the country can rebound from this current COVID downturn.
And we're hopeful that we will have more vaccines available that will provide coverage for more Bahamians. And so we hope that the government will continue to educate the Bahamian public, allow them to have access for those persons that will get vaccinated.
With the far more contagious and lethal Delta variant on the rise globally, doctors have another worry ahead of them. As with borders reopening to international visitors, Dr. Pinda Butler believes it is inevitable that this COVID strain will reach the Bahamas.
We certainly know that the transmissibility rate is much higher with this variant, and perhaps could be impacting what we're seeing now. Certainly it would be a serious cause of concern, especially because at this moment in time, we are at capacity at the hospital. And so certainly if we're at capacity related to COVID and we're at capacity related to other chronic conditions, that is something that's concerning, because if we're not able to provide care and persons aren't able to access the care, and that's really the concerning thing.
But she also believes that with proper preventative measures and a rise in vaccination rates, the healthcare system will be in a better shape to combat the Delta variant in the future. She's encouraging the public to continue looking out for their health by practicing preventative measures, including wearing face masks, washing hands frequently, and avoiding large crowds when possible. Shifting gears in news from the court, 23-year-old Nathan Roll appeared before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt on Friday morning, formally arraigned on 1 count of murder and 1 count of attempted murder for the June 24th killing of Gladstone Francis of 1st Street, Coconut Grove. It's alleged that the defendant is responsible for the death of Francis and attempted murder of Savannah Francis on the same day. According to police reports, sometime after 9 p.m., a male and female were at a residence on 1st Street when a light-colored vehicle pulled up and an occupant discharged a firearm in their direction, injuring them. Both victims were transported to hospital by a private vehicle where the male later succumbed to his injuries. Meanwhile, the female was said to be listed in serious but stable condition. Roll was not allowed to answer to the charges. The case was adjourned to November 30th for a service of voluntary bill of indictment when he returns to court. In the meantime, the accused was denied bail and remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. His co-accused, Mario Cuffey, was charged on Monday. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.